Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. This is the fourth lecture for today. The narrator in the return of the native. The subject is the narrator in the return of the native for students in the translation department, College of Arts, third year. What is a narrator? Do you know what does this mean? Who is the narrator? The noun narration is a synonym of telling, is a synonym of point of view. Narration, telling, point of view. In general, how does a novelist present his plot? Did you ask yourself, how does a novelist present his plot? He uses narration, telling. He uses a point of view. He, the writer, tells his readers a story. He narrates a story. Telling is a synonym of narrating. Narration, telling. Now, we know now the writer uses narration. The writer of a novel, the novelist, uses narration. In this novel, in his novel, who tells the story? The writer himself, or he uses someone? He uses a teller, a narrator. And the teller or the narrator could be the novelist himself, or one of the characters, Read Book 1, Chapter 2, entitled Humanity Appears Upon the Scene, Hand in Hand with Trouble. This is the title of Chapter 2 in Book 1. We took a paragraph from Chapter 1. Now this is Chapter 2. Let's read this paragraph. Along the road walked an old man. Do you notice I opened a quotation mark? Because I quote a paragraph from the text of the novel. These lines are not my own. They are Hardy's lines from his novel, The Return of the Native, from Chapter 2 in Book 1. So use quotation marks. The paragraph says, along the road walked an old man. He was white-headed as a mountain, bowed in the shoulders and faded in general aspect. He wore a glazed hat, an ancient boat cloak, and shoes. His brass buttons bearing an anchor upon the face. Anchor. In his hand was a silver-headed walking stick, which he used as a veritable third leg, perseveringly dotting the ground with its point at every few inches interval. One would have said that he had been, in his day, a naval officer of some sort or other. Who speaks? Or let me say, who narrates the scene? Along the road walked an old man. He was white-headed as a mountain. Who said that on the road there is an old man walking along the road? And this old man is white-headed. His hair is white. It refers or indicates that he is in his 60s, 70s. He was white-headed as a mountain, just like the mountain, the head of a mountain, the top of a mountain, which is white because covered with ice, covered with snow, pardon. Bowed, this old man bowed in the shoulders. You know, old people. Who is saying this? Who is telling this? Who is narrating? The writer? A character? He didn't tell us what is the name of the old man, faded in general aspect. He wore a glazed hat, an ancient boat cloak. His clothes or coat was a boat cloak, and shoes, his brass buttons bearing an anchor upon their face. There is a picture of anchor on the face of the buttons of this cloak. In his hand was a silver. Who is telling this? Who speaks? Again, let's read. Who is telling us this information, this story? Along the road walked an old man. This old man, someone is telling us that there is an old man. He uses the pronoun he to talk about this old man, to describe this old man, to portray this old man and tell us what does he do, how does he look. He said, this narrator or speaker said he was white-headed as a mountain, and then he said he wore a glazed hat. He told us that he wore a glazed hat. He continues and then said, in his hand, in the hand of the old man, he was a silver-headed walking stick, which he used as a veritable third leg. This old man uses the stick as a third leg. It means that he is very old and cannot walk like a young man. He uses a stick to help him, perseveringly dotting the ground with its point at every few inches interval, because he kneels and uses the stick to support him to walk. So do you see, he dots the ground when he walks. One would have said that he had been in his day a naval officer, an officer in the Marines. From the word boat cloak, from the picture of anchor on the face of the buttons, the use of pronouns he, third person pronouns he wore, and the possessive pronoun his hand, shows that the speaker or the narrator tells the readers about someone, describes someone. In Thomas Hardy's The Return of the Native, the narrator then is a third-person narrator. When you see such pronouns like these, he wore, in his hand, an old man, one would have said, when you notice these pronouns, possessive pronouns or subject pronouns, you can say simply that the narrator is a third-person narrator. And this is the point of view in the book. This is the point of view in the book. Hardy's use of point of view can be described as a third person or omniscient point of view, which means that events can be viewed through the eyes of whatever character at the moment suits the author's purposes. Omniscient suggests knowing everything. If the narrator is a third person narrator, or if the point of view is a third person point of view, and it is omniscient. And omniscient suggests that the narrator knows everything. The narrator is remote. The third person narrator is remote and aloof, and tells the story of the novel from a distant and detached position. Therefore, his narration is objective. The aloof narrator functions in many roles. He can be a historian, a psychologist, a theatrical director, but he is objective and omniscient. Why the third person narration is objective? Why this kind of narration, the third person narration, is objective? Let's see the reason. The third person objective point of view has a neutral narrator. Why neutral? Let's go back to the previous slide. Again, because he is remote, because he is aloof, because he is distant and detached. His position of narration is distant and detached. That's why he is objective. I did not understand. What do you mean? I'll elaborate. Here, third person objective point of view has a neutral narrator because he is aloof, because he is distant. This narrator, this teller, this omniscient narrator, that is not privy to characters' inner thoughts or feelings. Not privy? What is privy? Check it in the dictionary, dear students. This aloof narrator, this neutral narrator, teller, is not partaking in the inner feelings, the characters. Not partaking in the character's inner feelings and not partaking in the inner thoughts. He cannot know what does the character feel or think. He tells what he sees without judging them. He does not judge the characters. This person is vicious, this person is good, this woman is envious, this woman is kind. He does not judge them. He describes what he sees and tells the readers what he sees, and the reader has to judge. Therefore, he is objective. This is why this kind of narration is objective. Moreover, the narrator, the aloof narrator, again functions in many roles. He can be a historian. He can tell us a history, some history that happened, some historical events that happened in the novel, and can be a psychologist, can analyze some certain actions and be a psychologist, can be a director, a theatrical director. This all will be elaborated and understood and clear when you read the text. Do you want to be good in English? Really, do you want to be good in English or in any other language? If you want to be good in English, read the text, read the text, read the novel, not the summary, read the novel, not the summary. Good luck. This is the end of the lecture.